Bill Lavers is with us. Bill is the Executive Director of Harrison County Economic Development Commission, and Bill's been a busy man. Good morning, Bill. How are you?
Good morning, sir. Before we get started, I just wanted to thank you for being a voice of reason in these unreasonable times that we're in. I really enjoy listening to you every day. So,
God bless
thank you for all that you
so very
do.
much. We have such an incredible family across the state over the years, and it's comments like that that make it all worthwhile. We talk about workforce development, and you guys are in the center of that as Executive Director of the Harrison County Economic Development Commission, and there are a lot of things going on down there. But tell us a little bit about some of the things happening. Rail restoration was one of the things on the Seaway Road in Gulfport. I mean, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, we've got a lot of big deals, and they seem to all be happening at once, which I like chaos, so it's good. But workforce, it's my passion. And just like you were talking about on the previous segment, our job in economic development is to keep people that are good people here instead of having them go somewhere else. So we start in the 8th grade with exposing kids to different careers. And then in high school, what we've done is we've partnered with all the local schools for the teachers to find the student, and then we go make a matchup. It's kind of like a test drive for a career. So here's a perfect example from a couple of weeks ago. We're meeting with a business owner. He said, I need some talented people. I'll train them. We're like, okay, have you been to the Gulfport High School? He said, no. 2 days later, he was in Gulfport High School giving a lecture to like 30 kids spontaneously. In the back of the room, the teacher says, Colton. Colton now works for that guy, fixed a $500,000 piece of machine last week. He started on Monday, and Wednesday he had it fixed. He's a high school kid. That business owner couldn't have flown somebody in here to fix that piece of equipment, and it sat idle for 4 months. And this high school kid, who happens to be a robotics genius and he's going to do great things, he went in and fixed it in a couple of days. And so the business owner is like, how many more Coltons do you have? And I'm like, I don't know. How many do you want? So we had another student go over there. His name was Benjamin. First job interview. He just graduated from high school. He got a job offer on Friday. So the people that we need are already here. And whether these are long-term careers or not, we're making matchups with mentors in these businesses so that the kids know what's going on in that business. And then they go back to the school and talk about it, and it creates more momentum. And then the businesses are talking about the kids and like, whoa, I didn't know we had a Colton and a Jessica and a Peyton and a, So we had, before COVID, we had 34 kids in this program, and it cost us less than $20,000 to do what we're doing.
Bill, it is kind of a catch-22, and I've often said this: if you take a small town, a Rosedale, a Benoit, or Lucedale, or some small town where you have a sizable number of people below the poverty line, and all of a sudden they went through school, first kindergarten through 12th grade, and they all became Rhodes Scholars. The good news is they're going to find some pretty good jobs. They all got a great education, and a lot of them may go out of state. But that's the objective, is to do the education part of them. We got to find the jobs. We've got to tell a lot of these people who are in generational poverty and place some mandates on them that there are jobs, whether, let's say it's in Benoit and you have some generational poverty there. We've got to find a way to get those people to the jobs on the Gulf Coast and start a new life.
Well, what we're doing, I did the same thing in a small town in Texas of 11,000 people. It works. We just have to, you have to get out of the norm. You have to find these businesses that are willing to go on offense. I mean, we sat down with a bunch of plant managers a month ago. One of the most important meetings we have on a monthly basis is our workforce development meeting. We sit down with plant managers and the schools monthly to talk about, what do you need? How do we get you there? When we've got a new business coming in, guess what they want? Employees. Where are those employees going to come from? So one of the things we're going to talk about in a little bit, we have 2 years before that business is open. So we have an opportunity to create that pipeline. But the other thing that we've got to work on, that we're working on every month, is reprogramming the expectation. You're not going to come out of high school and make $60,000 a year. You might make 30 or 40 and you've got upside potential, but the realistic expectations need to be set both at the school level, at the parent level, and at the job level. And we've taken it, it's kind of the version of hand-to-hand combat. We've done it. We'd like to do it with 300 students instead of 30. We have partners with Cooperative Energy and Mississippi Power that we put up some money and they put up some money. So we've got funding to do this. Prior to that, we had a grant through the State Workforce Investment Board to pull this off. So it can be done anywhere. You've just got to create the matchups. It's that simple.
Yeah. I also look at that and think that once you get these kids, the toughest thing to cross over is to get a child who is in the 10th grade, 11th grade, and sometimes even in the 12th grade to understand what they really want to do, what they're good at, what their aptitude is, and sometimes that's a very, very difficult thing to do. I mean, we were all young at one time, and we can relate to that in some form of fashion.
Well, the other thing that we try to do is go to the student and say, what do you think you want to do when you get out of high school? Do you want to be an accountant? Do you want to be a mechanic? What do you want to be? And we put them in that job that they think they want to do. But one of my classic examples from Texas was a kid that wanted to be an accountant, that worked for an accountant and hated accounting and changed his major to finance and did very well. So we'll put them in the test drive now in something that they think they want to do so they can learn more about it, and they're building their resume for the future. We have a kid, there was something I saw on today that said, hire for attitude, train for talent. I needed a person to work in a sewage treatment plant. Not sexy. Can't make it. Doesn't smell good. It's a horrible job, right? Dirty job. Called the high school. That's what I said I needed. I have a kid that's the hardest working kid I've ever hired out there right now. He came to work at a sewage treatment plant, but he's learning how to weld. He's cutting grass. He's doing all these other things. And when he goes to Ingalls, hopefully in the fall, he's going to have a whole list of qualifications that the other kids aren't going to have because they didn't have that summer job. And one of the things that he said he wanted to learn how to do was weld. We had him welding within 3 days on the job. He was welding before he ever saw the sewage treatment plant for the first time. So we've got to get the kids into these opportunities, create these mentorships. They're there. Everybody needs somebody.
Wouldn't you think also one of the selling points, and Bill Lavers is with us, Executive Director, Harrison County Economic Development Commission. Bill, when you also think, because you almost have to squeeze the numbers here when you're talking to these kids, when you start talking about $35,000, $40,000, but they're 4 years ahead of somebody in college, number one. Number two, They're not paying off a $60,000 debt. Number three, the cost of living in the state of Mississippi is pretty darn attractive. And number four, they got a job. And the employers want them, and they want them to stay, and they want them to move up the chain. I think all of those things are good selling points. Can you hang on for a second?
In a lot of cases, yes, sir.
Hold on for just a second. We'll get back with the conversation. Live from the Trustmark Studios, back with Bill Lavers. Is it Lavers or Lavers?
Very appropriate. It's Lavers.
Lavers, Executive Director, Harrison County Economic Development. I just want to make sure we get it right. I don't want to get any demerits from the folks that know you real well. Let's talk about some of the things going on as far as the public-private partnership with Rock Island, the Rail of Hernando, Mississippi. What is that about?
In April of 2016, we had a washout on the railroad on Seaway Lead that was going to cost anywhere between $700,000 to $10 million to fix. And I wrote a letter to the railroad and said, please fix it or give me the railroad. And they said, here's your railroad. So for 4 years, we've been like, oh, here's our free puppy, and it's going to be very costly. So thankfully, through one of our commissioners, Shorty Sneed, and Todd Stennis, who's in the railroad business, they connected us with Robert Riley from Rock Island Rail. And I know that sounds like a cartoon, but it's not. And put together a partnership, and the locomotive will be delivered this week. We've gone through the Surface Transportation Board. We passed their review last week, and hopefully we'll start delivering material and goods to customers the week of June 21st. So that's, we talk about jobs and workforce and economic development. I'm probably one of the most impatient people you'll ever meet. But I'm really thankful that we finally got the rail put together after 3.5 years and 5 years out of service for our customers.
That's incredible.
So,
how long are we talking about? What's the distance that goes? But it interconnects with
9 miles.
Most of them 9 miles. Is that as far as you can go? 9 miles each direction?
Yeah, it interconnects with the North and South KCS. So whatever goods and services come in. This is a short line, so they go door to door. KCS goes coast to coast and can get to CSX. So the product will be inbound, outbound.
Who handles the contracting for businesses on that? Who does that? Would it be your office or another office?
The customer has a contract with Rock Island, but we will initiate the business development calls. So we have an agreement. So the more money they make, we have an override, so the more money we make. So we have a vested interest in helping them. And back to workforce, if you want to learn how to be a conductor on a railroad, you have to go to Kansas City. In Gulfport, you can ride an 8-mile railroad that runs 8 miles an hour, never have to leave home, and you can learn how to be a conductor. So we're better to learn than right here in your own backyard.
Bill, where do you go buy a locomotive?
I don't know. Robert has 4 that he just had repainted. I guess you buy them, they're used. It's like a used car from CN or KCS, and he has them repainted, and ours will be blue and white, and then I can't wait to see it get here this week.
How about that? I'd love to see a picture of that. If you'd send it to us, we'd love to share that. The Florida Crane 60,000 square foot grand opening in Saussure project deliver 300,000 square foot of e-commerce center space. And that is also happening on the Gulf Coast?
Yes, sir. FL Crane is a Mississippi-based company, 75 years old. Can't remember their hometown right now. But that's a 3-year project that we're about to have a crawfish boil and celebrate the new 60,000 square foot state-of-the-art facility in the North Harrison Industrial Park. They're our first tenant after 15 years of chasing, so we're very proud that they're there, and we're here to support them every way we can.
What is the Mississippi's first Busey's? I'm missing something on this.
That's Buc-ee's.
Buc-ee's, Bucees, Buc-ee's?
Yeah, Buc-ee's.
Explain that, Lucy, because I have no idea what we're talking about.
That is, it is the world's largest convenience store. There's their logo. So we're doing we passed legislation in this legislative session to defer the sales tax to help pay for the interchange improvements on Minge Avenue. And we have a resolution tomorrow at our meeting, and then it'll get passed on to the Board of Supervisors for our support to bring them to the state of Mississippi. This will be the first one in Mississippi, and they do a lot of business, and over 5 million people a year come to a Buc-ee's store when they're open. So we're very excited about that.
Bill, where are they located? Where are they out of? What state?
They're out of Texas. They have 36 stores. Their store in Alabama, the closest one to us is 100 miles from where I sit in Loxley, Alabama. And it's like Disney World for people that are buying gas. Their claim to fame is clean restrooms and I don't know how many different kinds of jerky.
I got you.
It's a phenomenon. It's a crazy thing.
Is it also a bus stop? I mean, a truck stop?
No trucks allowed
unless
they're delivering products.
And
then Project Deliver is a 300,000 square foot state of the art e-commerce center. We're in due diligence right now. That'll be under construction hopefully in the next 90 days. It'll have interstate exposure, and like I said, those 3 projects, any one of those on their own is a busy time and a busy year, but having all 3 of them happening at once is a pretty awesome thing for the coast and for Mississippi and for employment opportunities, because those 3 deals together represent about 1,200 jobs.
talking to Roundsville and Ryan Miller and some of the other folks, and also the governor when he was on last week, that the phones have been ringing incredibly in the last several weeks, and I guess you see it on the coast too.
Yeah, we do. I mean, these big deals are fun, but I like mom and pops with 9,000 square foot buildings too. So we've had a record year. We had a record year during the pandemic, and this year is going to eclipse that tenfold of what we did last year. So I'm one of those. Just put me in, coach. Let's go. The Buckies came from John Rounceville and Bill Cork at MDA. They said we don't really do this. You do it. Go get it done. And I'm like, got it. Let's go. So
I gotta ask you this, because when we had this conversation a little bit earlier, I just think if we center on the progress that we've made and the things that we are doing good, and be more optimistic, it helps everybody, whether it's race or economics or anything else. And I see a lot of good things that we are doing. But to ask you, and even before the next session comes up, 2022, what do you need now? What's the number one thing you need?
Time and money solves all problems. So, case by case, we don't need money for a lot of things, but I'll give you an example. We have a customer bought a little shop in Long Beach, Mississippi. They've since bought 5 more pieces of property from me that adjoin that little shop. They're from Seattle. They're leaving their business behind in Seattle on July 8th. They close on a house for their brother and a house for them.
About that.
One in Bay St. Louis and one in either Long Beach or the Pass. So base hits and bunts count. When we get an opportunity, and the governor knows this and everybody else you've mentioned, when we get an opportunity to show Mississippi, it's game on, lights out. I mean, there are things we have to overcome. We have those little H words that come by every season and that we got to live through, a couple of bad days a year, but the rest of the time is great. I'm not from here. I came here from Alabama and Texas, and I'm glad to be here. I love eating crawfish. I love eating fish. I mean, it's a great place to be.
Bill, what's your thoughts as far as the situation as personal income tax? Do you think that would be an advantage for us, or do you think it'd be too much of a toll on some of the business sector?
I think a little bit of both. I think you got to take from one to give to the other. So when I lived in Texas, my taxes are about 6 times what they are here in Mississippi. So if you put everything on a spreadsheet, you're going to pay it one way or another. So if it's an attractant, just like the flag, if we can change something to make it more appealing for people to move here, I'm all for it. But we've got to figure out what the balance is.
Don't be a stranger. I want to get you on again. Bill Lavers, who's Executive Director, Harrison County Economic Development Commission. It's good to get you on TV, too.
Thank you, sir. I'll see you Wednesday morning at MEC.
Oh, I will. Did you notice he looks a little like Delbert McClinton?
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you on Wednesday.
My daughter, thank you. My daughter says I look like the NFL commissioner.
Oh, yeah. So, we got more coming up.
I'll bring you some socks. On looking